The WhatsApp notification lit up my phone at 3 a.m. Dubai time. I was 7,000 miles from Chicago, sitting on the balcony of my rented apartment in Marina District, watching container ships drift across the Persian Gulf like illuminated cities. The message was from my brother. "You need to see this." Attached was a photo of Jessica in a wedding dress. My ex-wife, former wife of 8 years. She was standing next to Brandon Caldwell, the senior partner at Caldwell & Associates, the law firm where she'd worked as a paralegal. The same Brandon Caldwell who'd been 53 to her 34. The same man whose cologne I'd smelled on her clothes 6 months ago when everything fell apart. They'd waited exactly 91 days after our divorce was finalized. I counted. My name is Michael Torres. I'm 41 years old, and until 6 months ago, I was a structural engineering consultant living what I thought was a solid life in Chicago. I specialized in retrofitting older buildings, making sure century-old brick warehouses could support modern office equipment and meet current safety codes. Ironic, considering I'd completely missed the structural failures in my own marriage. I stared at that photo for probably 10 minutes. Jessica looked radiant. That's what people say, right? The bride looked radiant. Her dark hair was swept up in some complicated arrangement that probably cost more than our first car. The dress was designer, something French with a name I couldn't pronounce. Brandon stood beside her in a tuxedo that fit him the way expensive clothes fit wealthy men, like they were born wearing them. The wedding was being held at the Chicago Athletic Association, that historic building overlooking Millennium Park. I'd actually worked on the renovation project back in 2015, ensuring the marble columns could support the new roof structure. Now my ex-wife was getting married there, and I was supposed to feel what, exactly? My phone buzzed again. Another message from my brother Ryan. "Call me when you can. Something happened at the reception." I looked at my watch. It was Friday morning in Chicago. The wedding had been Thursday evening. Whatever happened must have been significant if Ryan was still awake messaging me at 9 p.m. his time. I called him. "Michael," Ryan answered on the first ring. His voice had that edge it got when something was seriously wrong. "You sitting down?" "I'm in Dubai, Ryan. It's 3 in the morning, and I'm drinking Arabic coffee on my balcony. What happened?" Jessica's wedding turned into a complete disaster. I felt something twist in my chest. Not satisfaction, exactly. Maybe curiosity, mixed with a small, shameful part of me that wanted to know she wasn't having the perfect fairy tale ending she'd imagined with Brandon. "Tell me." Ryan took a breath. "So, I wasn't going to go, obviously, but Lauren insisted we should make an appearance since Jessica's sister, Nicole, is her best friend from college. We figured we'd show up for the ceremony, skip the reception." Lauren was Ryan's wife of 12 years. She'd tried to stay neutral during the divorce, which I appreciated, even though it meant she'd maintained her friendship with Jessica. Some relationships transcended marital disasters. "We sat in the back," Ryan continued. "The ceremony was typical, wealthy Chicago wedding stuff. String quartet, imported flowers, probably cost more than most people's cars. Brandon looked smug. Jessica looked nervous, actually. I noticed her hands were shaking when they exchanged rings. Get to the part about the disaster, Ryan. So, we decided to stay for cocktail hour. Free premium bar, you know. We were standing near the library room when this older woman approached Jessica. Had to be in her 70s, really elegant, wearing this deep purple dress. I heard Ryan take a drink of something, probably bourbon. He always drank bourbon when he had a story to tell. The woman introduced herself as Patricia Caldwell, Brandon's mother. My hand tightened on the phone. I'd heard about Patricia.
Brandon had mentioned her exactly once during the 8 months Jessica had been sleeping with him while still married to me. He'd said his mother was difficult and lived in Boston. Patricia smiled at Jessica, Ryan said. And I swear, Michael, it was the coldest smile I've ever seen. She said, You're the fourth one, you know. Fourth what? That's exactly what Jessica asked. And Patricia just kept smiling and said, the fourth paralegal, my son is married. Though you're the youngest. Congratulations on that, I suppose. I stood up from my chair, coffee forgotten. Brandon's been married before? 3 times. All to young women who worked at his firm. Patricia made sure everyone within earshot heard the details. His first wife was 26 when they married. He was 41, divorced after 2 years when he started sleeping with his secretary. Wife number 2 was a junior associate, 28 years old. That marriage lasted 3 years before she caught him with, wait for it, a paralegal. Wife number 3 was actually that paralegal. She was 30 when they married, divorced 18 months ago. The timeline clicked into place in my head. 18 months ago, Jessica and I had still been married. We'd been trying to have a baby. She'd been working late at the firm, coming home exhausted, saying Brandon was preparing for a major case and needed all hands on deck. Jesus, I whispered. It gets better, Ryan said. Patricia wasn't finished. She told Jessica, my son has a type, dear. Young, ambitious, eager to please. He likes the chase, the secret affair, the feeling of power, but he gets bored easily, usually around the 2-year mark. What did she do? She turned white, completely white. Brandon tried to step in, told his mother she'd had too much to drink and needed to leave. But Patricia just laughed and said, I've been sober for 30 years, Brandon. You know that. Then she looked at Jessica and said, do you know why he really divorced Amanda? Amanda, wife number 3. Apparently, she got pregnant. Brandon made her have an abortion, said he was too old to start over with children. When she refused to get a second abortion a year later, he filed for divorce. I felt sick. Jessica and I had spent 2 years trying to conceive. We'd gone through fertility testing, spent thousands of dollars on treatments. She'd cried every month when her period came. And all along, she'd been sleeping with a man who forced his wives to terminate pregnancies. Jessica ran, Ryan said, just bolted out of the reception. Brandon went after her, but she locked herself in one of the bathrooms. Lauren tried to talk to her, but she wouldn't open the door. Then about 20 minutes later, she came out, got her purse, and left, just walked right out of her own wedding reception. Where'd she go? No idea. But Michael, here's the thing. About an hour ago, Brandon came back into the reception, alone. He was drunk, really drunk, and he started telling people that Jessica was being hysterical and emotional like all women. He said she'd come around once she calmed down and remembered which side her bread was buttered on. I looked out at the Gulf, processing everything. The fairy tale had lasted less than 4 hours. Lauren grabbed me and we left, Ryan continued. But on the way out, I saw Nicole crying in the lobby. She said Jessica called her and asked if your new number was the same. She wanted to know if you'd talked to her. Absolutely not. That's what I figured you'd say, but Michael, I've never heard someone sound so broken. Nicole said Jessica was apologizing over and over, saying she'd made a mistake, that she didn't know about Brandon's history. She made her choice, I said, my voice harder than I intended. She chose him over 8 years with me. She gets to live with that. Ryan was quiet for a moment. Then he said, you're right. You don't know her anything. I just thought you should know what happened. After we hung up, I sat on that balcony until the sun came up over the Gulf, turning the water from black to silver to blue.
I thought about Jessica, about the woman I'd met 12 years ago at a coffee shop in Wicker Park. She'd been reading a book about architecture, and I'd made some stupid joke about flying buttresses. She'd laughed. God, she'd had the best laugh. We got married 2 years later in a small ceremony at the Lincoln Park Conservatory. Nothing fancy, just our families and close friends surrounded by ferns and orchids. She'd worn a simple dress from Nordstrom and carried wildflowers. I'd thought we were happy. The cracks started showing about 3 years in. Jessica had always been ambitious, but it shifted from healthy drive to something desperate. She wanted more money, more status, more everything. My consulting business did well, solid 6 figures, but it wasn't enough. She started talking about the partners at her firm, their houses in Lincoln Park and Winnetka, their vacation homes in Harbor Springs. Then she got promoted to senior paralegal and started working directly with Brandon Caldwell. Late nights became routine. Weekend emergencies were constant. I told myself I was being paranoid. She was building her career. I should be supportive. The day I found out, I'd come home early from a job site in Naperville. My phone had died, so I couldn't call ahead. I walked into our condo and heard her voice from the bedroom. She was on the phone, talking in a way I'd never heard before. Soft, intimate, laughing at something. When I opened the door, she went silent. Her face told me everything. She didn't even try to lie, just said, "It's Brandon. We've been seeing each other 6 months." They'd been together for 6 months. While I was planning our anniversary trip to Quebec, while we were still trying to have a baby, while I was telling my mother that Jessica and I were thinking about buying a house with a yard. The divorce took 4 months. Jessica didn't fight me on anything. She signed whatever papers my attorney put in front of her, took her half of our savings, and moved into Brandon's townhouse in Gold Coast within a week of our separation being finalized. I'd lasted another month in Chicago before accepting a contract position with an engineering firm in Dubai. The United Arab Emirates needed structural engineers for their endless construction projects, and I needed to be somewhere Jessica couldn't accidentally run into me at Whole Foods. My phone buzzed. Another message from Ryan. "Nicole just texted Lauren. Jessica's at her apartment. She's asking for your number. What do you want me to tell her?" I typed back, "Tell her I'm not available." But even as I sent it, I felt something complicated twist in my chest. Not sympathy, not forgiveness, maybe just curiosity about what she thought she could possibly say that would matter now. The sun was fully up now, and Dubai was waking up around me. I could hear the morning call to prayer from a nearby mosque mixing with the sound of traffic on Sheikh Zayed Road below. I had a meeting at 10 with a client who wanted to convert an old warehouse in Dira into luxury apartments. Normal work, normal life. 7,000 miles from the disaster Jessica had made of her fairy tale ending. My phone rang. Unknown number with a U.S. area code. I should have let it go to voicemail. Should have blocked it. Should have done anything except what I did, which was answer it. "Michael." Jessica's voice was wrecked, hoarse from crying, barely above a whisper. "Please don't hang up." I stood there on my balcony, phone pressed to my ear, and didn't say anything. "I know you have every right to hate me," she continued, words tumbling out fast, like she was afraid I'd disconnect. "I know what I did was unforgivable, but Michael, I need you to know that I didn't know about Brandon's history. His mother, she told me things tonight. That I heard," I interrupted. "Ryan told me everything." "Oh." She went quiet. I could hear her breathing, shaky and uneven. "Then you know what a fool I've been." "Jessica, what do you want? It's 5 a.m. here. Where are you?" "Dubai." "Dubai?" She repeated it like I'd said Mars. "You're in Dubai?" "Working. I have a 2-year contract with Al Maktoum Engineering." More silence. Then in a small voice, "I miss you." Something hot flashed through me. Anger, maybe, or something sharper? "You miss me? You divorced me 6 months ago so you could marry your boss. You miss me? I made a mistake. Multiple mistakes. I corrected. You made multiple mistakes. 6 months worth of them while we were still married. I know." Her voice broke. "Michael, I'm so sorry. I know that doesn't change anything, but I need you to know." "Jessica, stop. Just stop." I rubbed my face with my free hand. "What exactly do you want from me? Forgiveness? Absolution? Permission to feel less guilty about blowing up 8 years together?" "I want—" She trailed off. "I don't know what I want. I just knew I needed to hear your voice." "Well, you've heard it.
Anything else? Do you hate me? The question surprised me. I looked out at the Gulf, at the container ships that never stopped moving, and tried to figure out how to answer honestly. No, I said finally. I don't hate you. I don't feel much of anything about you anymore, which is probably worse. She was crying now, really crying. I threw away the best thing I ever had. You were good to me, Michael. You were so good to me. And you chose someone else, I finished. Someone with more money, more status, someone who could give you the life you wanted. And tonight, you found out exactly what that life costs. It's not fair that you have to be right, she said, and I heard the bitterness in her voice. You always were too understanding. I'm not being understanding, Jessica. I'm being honest. You wanted something I couldn't give you. That's not a moral failing on either of our parts. It's just incompatibility. But I love you. Those 3 words hung in the air between Dubai and Chicago, separated by 7,000 miles and 6 months of destruction. No, you don't, I said quietly. You love the idea of me, the safety, the stability, the guy who never cheated on you or had 3 secret ex-wives. But you didn't love the reality of being married to me. If you had, you wouldn't have left. Michael, I have to go. I have a meeting in 4 hours and I need to sleep. Wait, please, can I call you again? Can we just talk sometimes? I thought about saying yes, thought about how easy it would be to slip back into old patterns, to be the person Jessica turned to when her new life fell apart. But I'd spent 6 months building something new, something that belonged only to me. No, I said, I don't think that's a good idea. Please, I don't have anyone else. You have Nicole, your family, friends. They all look at me like I'm the villain in this story. Jessica, you were the villain in this story. You don't get to rewrite it now because you're unhappy with how it turned out. She was silent for so long I thought she'd hung up. Then, you're right. You're absolutely right. I'm sorry I called. I hope you figure things out, I said, and I meant it. I hope you find whatever you're looking for, but you're not going to find it by calling me at 5 in the morning. I know. I needed to hear that you're okay, that I didn't completely destroy you. I'm okay, I told her. Better than okay, actually.
I'm good. I'm glad. You deserve to be good. After she hung up, I sat on my balcony until my coffee went cold. I thought about marriages and mistakes, about the stories we tell ourselves and the realities we ignore. Jessica had built a fairy tale in her head about Brandon Caldwell, successful attorney, wealthy, sophisticated. She'd burned down our life together to chase that fantasy, and tonight she discovered it was built on the same foundation as his 3 previous marriages. I couldn't even feel satisfaction about it, just a deep, settled sadness for the time we'd wasted. My phone buzzed one more time. Ryan, she called you, didn't she? Yeah. What did you tell her? I typed back. I told her the truth, that I'm okay, that she needs to figure out her own life. Good. You staying in Dubai for now? Maybe longer. I like it here. And I did. Dubai was clean slates and new beginnings. It was a city that reinvented itself constantly, building impossible towers in the desert and calling them progress. Maybe that's what I needed, a place that understood the value of starting over. 3 months later, I got an email from Nicole. She and Lauren were planning a trip to Dubai and wanted to know if they could visit. The message was chatty, full of details about their itinerary and questions about which hotels were best. At the end, almost casually, she added, Jessica and Brandon are officially divorced. Turns out Patricia was right about the 2-year pattern. Brandon started sleeping with a new associate at the firm about 6 weeks after the wedding. Jessica found emails. She's moving back with her parents and taking some time to figure things out. She asked me to tell you she's sorry for calling you that night. She says she understands why you needed to move on. I stared at that email for a long time. Then I wrote back to Nicole, told her I'd love to see them in Dubai, suggested some hotels and restaurants. I didn't mention Jessica's divorce or her apology. What was there to say? 6 months after that, I was having dinner at Pierrick, the
this restaurant built on a pier stretching into the Gulf, when I met Ela. She was a Lebanese architect working on the new terminal at Dubai International Airport. And we spent 3 hours talking about cantilevers and load-bearing walls and the particular challenges of building in desert environments. She didn't ask about my past, didn't need to know about Jessica or the marriage I'd left behind in Chicago. We talked about the future, her project timeline, my contract extension, whether Dubai was a place we could see ourselves long-term. When I walked her to her car that night, she said, "I like that you talk about buildings like they're alive, like they have personalities." They do, I told her. Every building tells a story about the people who made it, what they valued, what they were afraid of, what they were trying to prove. "What story are you trying to tell?" she asked. I looked back at the restaurant, at the lights reflecting off the dark water, at this impossible city built on sand and ambition. That sometimes the best thing you can do is start over, build something new on a better foundation. Ela smiled. "I like that story." A year later, I was standing on another balcony, this time in Ela's apartment in Dubai Marina, watching the same container ships drift across the same gulf. My phone buzzed, a message from Ryan. "Jessica's engaged. Some guy she met at therapy. Not sure if you want to know, but figured you should hear it from me." I read the message twice, waiting to feel something. Anger, jealousy, maybe satisfaction that she'd found someone new. But all I felt was the same settled peace I'd carried for the past 18 months. I typed back, "Thanks for telling me. I hope she's happy." And I meant it. Whatever Jessica was building with this new person, whatever story she was trying to tell, I hoped it worked out better than it had with Brandon, better than it had with me. Behind me, I heard Ela's door open. She came out carrying 2 glasses of wine, handed me one, and leaned against the railing beside me. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. "How far away Chicago feels," I said. She clinked her glass against mine. "Good. It should feel far away. You're here now." "I am," I agreed. "I really am." The wedding that destroyed Jessica's fairy tale was the best gift she could have given me. It proved something I'd known, but hadn't been able to articulate when she'd asked for the divorce. We'd been building on a flawed foundation all along. No amount of retrofitting could have saved what we had. But here, 7,000 miles from the disaster, I'd found something better, something built on honesty and compatibility, and the simple truth that sometimes you have to let old buildings fall so new ones can rise. My phone stayed silent for the rest of the night, and in the morning, when I looked at it, I realized I'd forgotten to respond to Ryan's message about Jessica's engagement. I deleted it without replying. There was nothing left to say.